Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Today is a little unique episode. You will notice that we have not put the introduction at the front of this, and it is unengineered. It is unscripted. This is what I'm calling Lori Unstaged. And this will be a little pop-up episode that we will have here and there along the way in the podcast, because it's really me coming in and just my musings, my thoughts, my response to questions that might have been coming up in the community as I see them, and questions that have been asked of me over time. But I just want to get in here and just answer for you and give you my thoughts and opinions. Now, today's episode, just for like future planning, today's episode, I don't think you'll need earmuffs for any children that you're listening with in the background. I don't plan today at least to be, sassy or crass or use spicy language, but that could be a part of Lori Unstaged in the future. So I just wanted to put that out there to you. But today I really want to come in and talk to you newer business owners, those of you who are in the first couple of years of your business, because I think what I'll be talking about today will apply to you the most, because you are experiencing lots and lots of scenarios that are new to you. And if you've listened to me for a little bit or even a long bit, you'll know that I really believe in something called the results triad. And the results triad says that your results come from your knowledge, your beliefs, which is your thoughts and your feelings, and then your actions. And when you are a newer business owner, there's a lot of knowledge that you don't have. And despite your best abilities to get that knowledge, you're going to likely have gaps. Now, part of the reason I started this podcast in the first place was because I really wanted to fill in as many of those gaps as possible for you, because I know when I started my business, we didn't have the volume of information that we have available to us today. And today you've got a lot of resources that you can go to. And I wanted this podcast to be one of those. So in that results triad, your knowledge is often going to be incomplete when you make decisions to get the results that you want. So I just want to put that up there right at the front. You also are not likely to have much visibility on your own beliefs, your own thoughts and feelings. And I know that sounds kind of, remarkable or maybe even odd, right? We think we really know ourselves well, especially for many of us. This might be a second career. And so we have learned enough to know that first career wasn't the right option for us. But business and growing a business really can bring a lot of insecurities to the surface. It can bring a lot of vulnerability, lack of confidence, all of those things. If they're lurking at all inside your DNA, your brain is going to produce thoughts that just amplify that. And we often take those as real, those thoughts. I think a lot of us have, we aren't so aware and so conscious of the thoughts that we have. And as a result, we operate and create actions from beliefs and thoughts that aren't super clear to us. So we've got a lot in front of us as newer business owners, and even future business owners and fully developed business owners that can come up over and over and over again. So the reason why I'm saying this is that so your results are created on two things that you really don't have a lot of visibility on, right? The knowledge and your beliefs and your thoughts and your feelings. Your actions are certainly the most measurable thing that you have. So if you are not clear on your knowledge and beliefs, you'll see it come through in your actions, which will lead to your results. So I know that's like a little bit heady, but I wanted to kind of dive into that first, because what I have been seeing is that in our community, we have a lot of great resources now, like I said. And we have a lot of great wisdom at this point. When I started my business 12 years ago now, there wasn't the volume of really super educated business owners that there are right now. You are so lucky to have business owners who have had decades, multiple decades at this point of experience. So when you go into our community and you ask questions, that's fantastic. You're tapping into the communal wisdom that is there. The one thing that I will say is that I can speak for myself in this is that those of us who have the wisdom and we're imparting advice from a place of being further along in our business often forget what it's like to be in your shoes. We often forget where we came from. And so when we're giving advice, while it might be great advice and it's the advice of a future business owner that you can borrow and lean on, it may not be the right advice for you where you are right now. So let me not be so vague and I'll give you a specific example. So this gets posted very often in our Facebook community, which is that people get asked to do a last minute stage, like a last minute vacant install. Maybe it's that somebody's asking for it within 48 hours, or they are asking for it over a weekend. And maybe that's not what you're hoping to do. You've got a family life and you don't want to take time away from your family. Or even as a future business owner, if you were to have a bustling schedule, would you be working on weekends? So, and when that question gets posed into our community, and I am guilty of this as anybody else, we tend not to stop and ask, where are you in your stage of your business? Do you have inventory readily available? Do you have, the capacity to move? Do you have a contract? We don't ask any questions. We just jump in and we're like, some people are like, yes, I would do it if I had the time on my schedule. Absolutely. You've got to hustle in the beginning and blah, 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 and all of that. Then there's the people that are more in my camp, which is that you don't have that availability. So let's talk about that and talk about why both of those pieces of information are correct, but may not be correct for you. So in your earliest stage of business, the most important thing that you can be doing, obviously, is meeting people, telling them that you're a stager, and making offers to help them. And the better that you get at closing the sale, the busier you get, which is fantastic. The one thing that you need to remember is that when you close the sale of somebody who can offer you repeat business, so realtor investor, typically, you actually want to start off by understanding that many of the people that you will be working with have not worked with a stager before, so they don't know what it looks like. So when they ask, can you stage in 2 days? They are simply asking, can you stage in 2 days? They don't necessarily need it to be done in 2 days. And they can often, I have found, be totally fine with that your next availability is not in 2 days. And the reason that I'm saying this is that when you are doing a vacant service, it is very important that you have 2 things in place before you even start doing any work. That you have a signed client agreement and you have payment in full. So if you are able to get a signed client agreement and payment in full, then I would say the clock should start ticking at that point. So you need to educate, slow down. You are the business owner. You get to educate your consumer. And you can say, if you believe that you can execute in 2 days, that absolutely we can implement within 2 days, but that starts from the time that we receive a signed client agreement and payment in full. Once that happens, we are able to deliver that service in 2 days, if you can do that. That's the first thing. Secondly, as a newer business owner, you actually need to understand, can you do that? Because if you don't have enough inventory accumulated, if you're renting furniture from a furniture rental company, they very often have their own timeline. And so that's actually what helped me in my business, was that we worked with a furniture rental company and I knew that they had a 5-day lead time. So that automatically bought me 5 days from the time of a signed agreement. Plus the client had to sign their agreement as well. That was how I had them do it in the beginning. So it is not with that's not outside of reason to give a longer lead time. So that's the first thing. So then you have to think, okay, can I execute that in 2 days? So do you have enough inventory? Do you need to rent furniture? What does that timeline look like? How long do you need to pull? Do you have to rent a truck? Or are you going to fill like I did back in the day? I filled a Prius. Can you imagine that? The Prius was magical. My team used to say, someday we're going to pull a full size, like, 72-inch, 74-inch sofa out of this thing. um, it was like a clown car, one of those crazy clown cars. But anyway, I would have to fill my Prius because that's what I was doing at the time, and get all of that organized. Can that feasibly be done for you? So the business owner that is saying to you, yeah, you got to hustle and tell them yes. Yeah, I would do it. Absolutely. Those people have built infrastructure, they have inventory, they have team, they may have trucks, they've got a system. They've got a system that allows them to do that. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that you need to run that lens every time you say yes to that, through the fact that you are now setting a standard for this realtor that says they can get it done within 2 days. Is that really scalable for you in the near future? And the answer is likely no, because here's what happens in a staging business. What happens is you start out, you start getting sales. You start getting sales with people who are repeat clients. They start to book more with you, and you start to get busier. You start to get busier before you actually start hiring. So then you've got to hire somebody, and hiring someone slows you down, but you've built your sales funnel to the point that you've got steady business, and now you've got to slow down because you have to teach and train somebody. And then you continue to grow and grow, and it takes a while until you develop the systems, because what happens is when you teach and train somebody, you realize where your systems are faulty, and the additional training that needs to happen, and the additional education, and how you're not organized in the way that you do things, and you're not systematic, and things fall apart. So you've got a long timeline to the place where you can promise a 2-day turnaround. I'm just going to be totally flipping real about it. So while that advice from a seasoned business owner is great, it's actually fully not appropriate or viable for you, because that also, I don't want to say it's shaming. That's not the word, but it's just likely to plant a seed in your mind as a newer business owner that, oh, I should be hustling at this stage. And certainly there is a degree of hustle in the beginning because it's you. So by definition, you, when you get better at selling your services, are going to hustle, no doubt. But you don't need someone else's timeline to dictate your business's timeline. So I love the expression, there is no right decision. There's only the decision you make right. So if you choose to say yes to the turnaround time in 2 days, make that right, get it done, and then evaluate. Was that, is that something that you want to do again in the future? Is that a precedent you want to set? Is that even realistic for you for the next foreseeable future? Because it's going to take some time. So that's a piece of advice that when I see that coming through, I really want to jump in and just say any decision we make has to be through the lens of where we are in our businesses. And those of us who are more seasoned, we can inadvertently give you advice based on where we are today, forgetting about where you were back then. So that is one thing. Now, here's another thing. When I want to talk about the decisions you make when it comes to enforcing your client agreement. Again, a lot of this, like staging consultation world, styling evaluations, joyful, really wonderful, super easy. Vacant staging is like where it's at. So if you're offering vacant staging or you're thinking about it, this is really a podcast episode for you. So the other thing is enforcing fees in your client agreement. Absolutely, they should be in there. They should be delineated clearly. Inside of Rethink You, we have our client agreement. It is dialed in AF. It's tight. And we have fees for all kinds of things. So one thing is if the staging gets canceled not within the time frame, the 48-hour time frame, or whatever it is that you say. Well, when you receive payment up front, you're actually not charging that fee. You're simply just refunding everything minus that fee. Now, that's a super easy one to enforce in the beginning. They're all super easy to enforce in the beginning. The one thing that I want to say is that I always give clients who I think are repeat clients grace, and who I think will be repeat clients, I will give them some grace, but I will give them some education. And I will say, for if like last minute cancellation for stage, if you have done all of the work and your team is all lined up and you haven't taken other appointments, I say that's really a super easy one. And you just say, oh my gosh, that's so exciting, it's so wonderful, you know, uh, according to the client agreement, we actually have a last minute cancellation fee. I'm not going to charge that fee, but what I'll do is I'm going to refund your money, and I'm going to keep X amount of dollars just because our team has already done the pull and now we have to re-rack everything and we block the time off on our calendar. I hope you understand. Like, just do it as like nicely as possible, because you're educating them that there is in fact an additional fee to that, but that you're waiving that fee, but you've also done work that needs to be compensated and you've paid people. So, and I would even say, even if it's just you, like, you are the team. So the team has already done the pull, we've already set up the truck and blah, 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 whatever. So that's the first one. But when it comes to like moving things, right, we all have that in our client agreement that we're the only ones who should be handling our inventory. And, we know that there are those people out there that just cannot resist moving things. And I would say if people have adjusted things minorly and even sometimes majorly, I let that go. And I might say, I've actually had conversations where I said to the realtor, I said, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to check back with my team, because I cannot imagine we would have set that room up that way. Are you okay with that? And, are you okay with the way that it looks? Because we can come back and put it back the way I think they would have styled it. Like, I totally throw it out that we noticed it, but that I'm taking ownership for it, because then of course they're not gonna say anything like that. No, it's fine, because they changed it. But I don't charge a fee for that. The only time I would charge a fee for that is if for whatever reason the property was stolen or moved into an unconditioned space or something like that. So I let it go. If they move stuff, I just say, in the client agreement there, we do have a fee for things that got moved. I checked with my team. I know that they said they didn't style it this way, but I'm going to waive it. But are you okay with the way that it looks right now? Like, just put a little doubt in their minds. And you can go back, by the way, episode 6 is about grounded communication. There's a communication plan in there with the way that you can approach these things. But don't get yourself in such a stressed out place if people move your things. Yes, it's not your work product, but is it going to make a huge difference in you getting future business from new clients? Probably not. And if you lean into it, could it impact future business from the current client that you're working on? Maybe it could. So I want you to put on your hat of, if I were a busy business owner, and like in my case, I actually don't see all of the photos that come through from our team, almost like hardly ever, unless it's like a major transformation and my team is like, you have got to see this. Do I actually ever see our after photos? So if you're busy and you're not focused on it, I mean, my team they'll tell me, they'll be like, oh my God, I'm so annoyed that so-and-so moved it. And to me, I'm just like, yep, that's okay. It's not going to prevent the sale of the house in most cases. So that's just one other area. So I want you to think longer term when it comes to enforcing the fees that you have around your vacant staging services and business, even if you do photo styling and it changes. So I know I'm rambling a little bit here, but these are just kind of stream of conscience thoughts that I've had just based on questions that I've seen coming through in our groups. So take that little sip this week, this little unscripted staging sip and unstaged sip. And I hope that there's a little gem in there and food for thought, because you are running your business and you will know ultimately what is best for your business. But I want you to think longer term in everything that you do. And longer term for you as a newer staging business owner looks like getting amazing at your sales and filling your calendar and hiring team. And will you be able to keep this standard and set this standard when you have a budding business where it's just you and you are doing all the hustle and all the muscle? And will it be able to be executed by a team who may not be as invested in the hustle as you are as the business owner in the earliest stage of your business? I talk about that in Boundary Alignment episode 5, where I had to get a comeuppance from my lead stager who was going to quit. So if you haven't heard that story, and she's who helped us create boundaries in our business, it was the best thing for my business, because I did not want to lose this amazingly talented, gifted, and wonderful human being on my team. She was incredible and I loved her, and I almost lost her because I did not have any boundaries, because I was operating in that hustle mode, not thinking about the future of my business. So that's what I've got for you. I hope you have a wicked good week, and I will see you next week on the podcast. Bye for now.